How did you fall into this mentoring of youth, Feleti? Can we ask you that question first of all?
Oh yeah. Coming into the mentoring space, when I left school, I was always I was always in the trades. So I was always doing auto elect, and then I was a bit in construction. It wasn't until I sort of went through a part of my life where, went out there and started experiencing some stuff that my wife actually pushed me into getting into mentoring. So the first place I actually got into mentoring was Mangere College. I'd done a volunteering job there. And it wasn't until I came there, and I wasn't doing much. I was just talking to the youth, like just about my own lived experience, and just hearing some of the feedback, like, "Oh, it's awesome to see what you're doing with the youth," um, sharing and your own lived experience. But I never knew that was like youth work until someone came up and said, "There's that's a job, eh?" And I was like, "Oh, what is it?" And I was like, "Oh, what you're doing." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not doing anything. I'm just talking to the youth about my own life experiences and how they can make better choices." So yeah, that's where youth working was birthed. And then I started off out in Manurewa, went into an actual job. And so yeah, been doing youth work ever since. That was all the way back in 2016.
Wow. Tell us a bit about your story, Feleti. Like you say, you share your story with these youth about where you came from and sort of your life story. And we don't have time, obviously, to hear the full thing, right? But I mean,
Yeah.
Christ at work is core mentoring. But so you're a Christian now, you're following Jesus. Was that always the case, or what's your life kind of looked like leading up to this whole thing?
So yeah, my story, is growing up in the heart of, I call it, when I share with the youth, the capital of New Zealand, a small town called Otara, where I grew up. And, you sort of go through life challenges, and you experience stuff. And when you start to feel pressure from sort of different areas of life, um, you start to, experience stuff. So after Otara, we moved to Australia, um, and sort of the gang lifestyle sort of escalated and went next level. And I just followed my older brothers into their gang lifestyle, always trying to look for that father figure. Um, I came from a good family. It was just my parents were, straight from the island, straight from Tonga. So they didn't know much about, what we're going through, but always trying to look for that father figure at home. And I found it in my brothers. And obviously, my brothers were in that gang lifestyle. So I followed their footsteps. And obviously, yeah, came in and became a house angel. Um, like anything in life, when you feel pressure from, you just wake up and you feel like, okay, you're going to react to something, or something's going to draw you, uh, to a certain group or to a certain goal. And at that time of my life, it was to become a gang member. So yeah, that's my sort of lifestyle. And
Yeah.
yeah.
When did, I mean, because now, I mean, you're running core mentoring, right? Christ at work. So when did the turnaround go from, chasing after the gang lifestyle and sort of being pulled in that direction to then choosing to follow Jesus and kind of God's call on your life? What was that sort of turning point?
I guess, yeah, God had other plans. I think just for me, there was one moment when I was in the club where there was one party. This lady came along with one of the boys, and she happened to sit across from me, and we were talking, and then she hit me with the "You don't look like you're meant to be here." And I was like, "Nah, this is me for life. This is me. I'm ride or die." And she goes, "Nah, you look like you're more suited for like as a pastor. You look like you're meant to be in the church." And I was like, "Nah, this is me. Like, I've already been in it for a couple of years." Um, and then as life went on, probably like a couple months later, God's plan happened, and directions, started to change. And it probably wasn't until like a year later, this one moment, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she was one that was always praying and asking me, to come to church with her all the time. This one morning, she was asking me, "Oh, do you want to come to church?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm all good." And I don't know, something just felt in me to just get up and go, so I went. And then the pastor at Planet Shakers had said, "Oh, if you're in the crowd and you feel like you need to start your life, fresh, just raise your hand." And I was new to that, so I put my hand up. Yeah, and then he prayed over and he goes, "Man, if you want to give your life to Christ and you want to start this new journey, just give it all to Him." And it was that day, March 20th, 2016, that I gave my life to Christ.
Wow.
That's powerful, man. And look at you, you're doing all this good for the youngins in Christchurch. What is it in your experience, Feleti, do you find that the youth they're missing or they need outside of maybe, a strong connection and relationship with God?
I think it's like the name core. Most of the stuff that we do is focusing on what's happening within. Like I say to most of the schools I've gone to, or some of the like social workers, I can help these youth into a job. I can get them into a course, but if they haven't dealt with what's happening deeper within, they're always just going to continue the cycle of making negative choices, always getting into trouble. So I find in today's world, everyone wants things instantly. Everyone wants things now. And so I'm finding with the youth today is they're always drawn to how can you make things happen straight away. And obviously, when it comes to money, when it comes to work, um, what's happening out there in the world, things that can happen straight away is not always good.
Mm.
And like I would say to the youth, it may be good from far, but it's far from good. And so, yeah,
That's a good
True.
line.
when so when I work with the youth, I guess it's just sharing our own lived experience and sharing the power of Jesus Christ. And it is a bit, I guess, hard to try and do that when a lot of places that I go into are not really sort of keen on me sharing the journey or sharing how God has played a massive part in that. So that's how the Fala Talata sort of program was birthed.
A lot of the kids who are at the most risk or the most vulnerable that need this kind of intervention, need someone like you in their life, aren't even turning up at school, right?
Yeah.
So this one-day conference that you've got coming up, tell us about the idea behind it and who this is for and what you hope to get out of it.
Oh, yeah. So the Fala Talata conference came about because, as you said, I run the Fala Talata conference, Fala Talata program in schools and with some of our youth justice youth. But it was always, I guess, when I have come into schools, there have been youth that have been lined up to do the program. But yeah, unfortunately, some of the actions that they've done have got them expelled from school. So they're no longer allowed to participate
Right.
in the program. And then they haven't done enough for them to end up in the justice system. So they're sort of left in the middle. So they're no longer in school. They're not in justice system. So they're just out there in the community, just I guess, just doing their own thing. And so that's how the Fala Talata conference came about. Is how can we bring it out to the streets? How can we bring it out to the youth that are sort of not in school, but some of the ones that are on the edge of getting expelled or getting suspended from school. So it is for our males that are from 13 to 18. It's a one-day event to go over our 4 weaves. So our 4 weaves in the program, understanding where you come from. Our second one is acknowledging your journey. So talking about your journey. This is sort of a hard one for our young men because they don't normally talk about their journey. And so for myself, I use my lived experience. I didn't just, go to sleep and wake up and just become a gang member or turn to, like, there was certain things that happened along that way.
Mm.
So talking about, excuse me for everyone that's listening, but around my abuse, being sexually abused as a young kid and not knowing about that. So being set free from that and using that story to sort of share with the youth, to not hold that in, like myself, held that in for almost 30 years. But those 30 years, that's something that sort of the enemy had hold over me. So I used to just get into fits of rage and, people seeing that I carried something, but, that's not what God's plan was for me. So, yeah, that's our second one. Our third one is the influence, places and spaces. And then our last weave is setting goals where to now. So those are the 4 weaves. We've got 4 speakers to come and share who have been on this similar journey to myself, that are now doing youth work here in Christchurch, in Wellington and in Auckland. So they'll come along and share just a space for our young youth to sort of hear that, it is possible to change. That what you're going through in your current life at the moment, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And so if we can share to the youth that at the end of the day, the one thing that has got us through has been Jesus Christ, the power of God, in our life. It's something that can never be taken away. Cops can't come in and raid your house and take it away from you. No one can come and sort of, an enemy can't come along and sort of take that away from you. But because, Jesus Christ lives in your heart, so we can try and do it in a way so that youth can see that there is something else in life other than materialistic things and gold and money.
Man, it's going to be a powerful, powerful event. You see, you got speakers there as well, Feleti. And if they're sharing similar testimonies to you, it's going to be powerful. I think you're going to get a lot of people turning up because you've also got free food and giveaways and prizes. And that always helps, bro.
Yes.
That always helps. Always helps, bro. So how can people register, Feleti?
Just with it's on Eventbrite, the registration or the conference. So on Eventbrite or just through our Instagram.
Okay.
We're more active on our Instagram. The link is on there in our bio.
Yeah,
Okay.
link in bio. Like and subscribe. That's great. Check it out. Instagram, the handle is Core Mentoring. Core is CAW, Christ at Work. And if you've heard any of this that resonates with you and you're like, man, that sounds great, or I know someone that would really benefit from plugging into that, maybe hearing a little bit more about his story. And can I just say shout outs to you, bro, for sharing your story. I know that's really vulnerable to talk about your own experience, but there's definitely power, right, in being the one to lead that, and then that creates the pathway for somebody else to be like, oh, if he can share his story and talk about that, then maybe I can talk about what's going on for me as well. So mad props to you from us. If you want to find out more, Core Mentoring on Instagram. All the tickets are at Eventbrite. The one-day conference is happening in September, Thursday the 4th, down in Christchurch. Make sure you check it out and connect anyone who you think would benefit from it to it.
Yeah, we might check the link on our Instagram as well. Feleti, you're a star, brother. Congratulations on all the wonderful work that you're doing for our youth up and down the country. Ofatu.
Ofat. Thank you.